changing our mind and starting down a new path is okay at any point in time in our life. That's never off limits.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Well, good morning, Tony. We have a guest with us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Courtney, and thank you for joining us on the Tiff and Tony Success Show this morning. Nice, simple start to the proceedings. Courtney, what is it you do?
Well, I actually, at this point in time in my career, am so fortunate to be part of an organization called Infinite Hero. I act as their executive director, and what our focus is bringing innovative treatment programs to our military heroes and their families that have been mentally or physically injured as a result of combat.
That's awesome work. Thank you very much for all that you do there. That's so important. We met a long time ago when you were with Arbonne, a completely different role.
Yes, much different. At that point in time, I was, focused, and, Tony and I had the opportunity to work together, focusing on teen esteem building programming. And, as we all know, teen self-esteem looks so many different ways. I think everybody has their own journey and their own path. And so that looks a little bit different to each person from an individual perspective. And tapping into programs like Pure Game that really allow, I think, our youth to find their own voice with an incredible support system around them, and using athletics as a tool. And I think that's, such a critical part of the journey. And so we had the opportunity to work together for a couple of years with some of the programming that was going on during the time that I was with Arbonne.
And so that rolls us into exactly what this show is about, really. We want to provide our kids with a pathway of success, right? We want to help them get onto their own pathway, find what they're good at, find out what their passions are, and really kind of launch them into the world as successful individuals. And what we're trying to do is learn from those who have gone before them. We're going to talk to you a little bit about your success today, and some of the things that you've done to help you get you there. So first off, tell me your definition of success.
Oh, well, that's a great question. For me, the definition of success is I think, finding that inner happiness, and doing something that makes you feel good each and every day. I had amazing role models in my life. One of them being my grandfather. And he always told me, and this is something that he instilled with me as a child, if you do what you love, then you'll never work a day in your life. And so I wholeheartedly believe in that. If we find that thing that makes us tick, that drives us to be better, I think that naturally just coming out of that space, you'll find success in what you're doing and be able to project success into the work that you put out into the world each and every day, no matter what that might be.
And you mentioned something that we talk about to our youth a lot about, which is finding that mentor, that role model, attaching yourself to someone who's been there before and who can help you along the way with that. I'm going to hand this over to Tiffany, because I know that Tiffany's got a couple of great questions for you.
What are some of the obstacles that you have experienced along the way, whether it be career-wise, life-wise, that have kind of gotten you to where you're at, and what have you learned from those obstacles?
What's interesting, when you talk about obstacles, I think, and I had just mentioned, finding that thing. When I first started my career, I was on a much different path than I am now. I kind of started off in a different space, doing events and different things like that. And as I worked through that early in my career, there was always this voice in the back of my head, like that something was missing. I was trying to kind of figure that out in my youth and determine, like, what is this piece? And I came to realize it was that piece of me that really thrives on giving back and being part of the community that focuses on that. And so, there was a point in my career where I decided to kind of start over. And I think that's okay, right? I think letting people know that, changing our mind and starting down a new path is okay at any point in time in our life. That's never off limits. And so for me, I kind of reflected back on, my journey to that point, and I was so proud of what I was accomplishing, and I was seeing success in what I was doing. But, on a personal level, I wanted something different. And so I kind of started over, and that actually led me to my first job in the nonprofit sector. I kind of started entry level at Muscular Dystrophy Association and kind of did a redo, if you will. And, through the course of those decisions that I made, it brought me to where I am today. It's been quite an exciting journey with lots of obstacles along the way. Striving to be the best version of yourself each and every day is so critical, and not being too hard on yourself, right? It's okay. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your path. I think it's all about discovery. And at each stage in our life, we may be discovering different things about ourselves. And that may lead to different decisions in what you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis in terms of your career and where you're putting your time and energy. And also the people that you're surrounding yourself with are a big part of that journey as well. And so when I think about some of those obstacles, I think about the people and that tribe that I had alongside of me for each part of this journey. And all of those people have led me and been part of my story to bring me to where I am today. But, I didn't let some of those challenges get me down. And if they did, it wasn't for too long. I think the reality is there are going to be things that are tough, that are going to slow us down or maybe knock us off our path for a little bit here and there. But it's having that resilience and that focus and believing in yourself. And then those times where it's harder to believe, then leaning on those people who believe in you, right? Kind of reinforcing that. I think that's really important. In my professional life now, when I have those tough moments, I lean out and speak to those people. And it just kind of refreshes you. It's like this revitalization of, okay, you're doing the right thing. Like everything's good. Look what you've accomplished. I mean, I think sometimes it's easy to be harder on ourselves than, most other people ever would be.
I'm glad I'm not alone, because I get those days too.
Right?
What am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, I have those moments, and I think over the course of this past year, COVID's had a really, it's presented a whole new set of challenges. I don't think anybody can anticipate what that would look like. And there's been really dark days, and that's okay. That's part of life. Yeah. But it's how we approach that and how we come through it that really helps build our character as individuals. And when I had some of those dark days, I reached out to my community. So I think just remembering that there's so many people out there that believe in you and want you to be successful and are proud of what you've been able to accomplish, and use them when you do need that additional support or some advice or, some guidance along the way. Mentors come in all shapes, sizes, ages, ranges. I think that's an important thing to acknowledge when you talk about success, is that there's going to be hard days and tough weeks. And that's just all part of the journey.
I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this, because I love that you've gone there about times where you have those hard days. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, what are some tangible things that you do? You've already mentioned one a few times about you reaching out to those in your community. So what are some other ways that help you get through those tough days? What are some tangible, maybe coping skills that we can kind of suggest and offer up to anyone who might be watching?
It's looking inward. I do a lot of meditation. I think that certainly helps. And it's something that's tangible. You can do it at any time in any place. I mean, you could sit at your desk and just take a couple deep breaths and reset yourself. I mean, sometimes it's something as simple as that. I also really believe that being in nature, so that could mean taking a walk around the block, helps reset ourselves and gives us an outlet. So I think those are things that are just easy to do, that you can step away and just take a few minutes for yourself. If we're not able to really give ourselves the time that we need and give ourselves the self-care that we need, then we really can't be, as strong as we want to be or need to be for the other people in our life, whether that's family or coworkers, or to be as effective as we want to be at our job. So, putting your self-care at the top of the list is so important. And it's something that I think it's easy to kind of set aside, because you're always so busy. There's so much to do. But if we're not doing that for ourselves first and foremost, then we really can't be as effective as we want to be for everybody else in our life.
Yes, and you make such a good point about being able to look internally, because that helps us acknowledge what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and then from there we can determine, okay, in this moment, do I need to go outside and get a walk? Do I need some hot tea? Do I need to call a friend? So Tony, I'm going to pass it off to you for a final question. We can wrap it up.
You mentioned earlier that your grandfather gave you a piece of advice: find something that you love to do and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I love that. I agree wholeheartedly with it. Although sometimes working at Pure Game, I think I'm working harder than I've ever worked in my life. But I still love it, right?
Yes.
What is another piece of advice you have received in your lifetime that you've gone, yeah, that I'm going to hold on to that piece of advice?
I keep going back to this idea of just believing in myself. Self-empowerment is such an incredible tool, I think. And it's one of, I think, the more challenging tools to really get dialed into over the course of a lifetime. I have a lot of work still to do in that space. I don't think anybody can really reflect and say, oh yes, I've got it all figured out. But that's part of life's journey, and as we go throughout each day and each thing that we're trying to accomplish or relationship we're trying to build, whatever that might look like, I think being able to take all the lessons learned that are good out of it, and put those back into what comes next is so incredibly important. But at the heart of all of that is believing in yourself, having that inner strength, that inner belief in who you are as a person, and keeping that in mind when you're having good days and bad days. I think just knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody does, right?
And I love the way that you've also spoke about this pathway, because it is a journey. It is a pathway to success that we create. And on a pathway, it's got many turns, twists, junctions, and we can always change direction and we can always pick a different path. Choosing to be on a pathway to success is the starting point. And then starting that journey with one step, learning from those who have gone before us, is critical to you finding the fulfillment in your own life. So thank you very much, Courtney, for your time. Thank you, Tiffany. Any last comments?
This is great. I'm so glad that you're doing this. I think it'll really be impactful for you to be able to have, these snippets that you can share with all the youth that you're working with. And I hope that, something that I shared maybe inspires somebody along the way. But if there's anything else I can do to support what you all are doing, I believe so much in Pure Game and all the work being done.
Well, thank you, Tony, Courtney. It was so great to meet you. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your stories with us. And we hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you all.
Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. If you like what we do here at Pure Game, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube, and you can donate at our website, www.thepuregame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here next week.